Every day, we're here for you. We get things off the ground, keeping you connected. We're here keeping you safe and secure. We keep things running smoothly and know the importance of giving back. Every day, we're here. ARA, here for you, here for good.
Welcome to Quick Wisdom by Everyday Greatness, and thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Barnaby Howarth. Thanks to our major sponsor, the ARA Group. This is a show that offers something completely unique in today's tyre-pumping, trumpet-blowing world. Real conversations with incredible guests. Subscribe to Everyday Greatness on YouTube and join the conversation. I want to start today by thanking our venue sponsor, the Budokan Judo Club in Castle Hill. Budokan is a truly community and family spirit-driven organisation. A lot of their members volunteered at the Sydney Olympic Games in 2000, and other members spread the word of judo in the Hills District through presentations and demonstrations at high schools in the area. Getting knocked out of the Paris Olympic Games in the first judo fight of the first morning of the first day would be a sad story for most people. But most people have two functional knees. For Australia's youngest judoka though, and my guest today, two-time Olympian and Commonwealth Games bronze medalist Josh Katz, just making it to the Paris Olympics is one of the happiest stories of Olympic qualification going around because of Josh's dicky knee. Josh completely ruptured his ACL in January before the Paris Olympics. Knowing that he wouldn't be able to recover in time to qualify, he put off surgery to make sure he could still compete in the qualifying tournaments. He flew overseas to compete in the tournaments, where he had to make the finals of both tournaments to qualify for the Olympics. Made the finals and qualified for Paris in one of the most incredible stories in Australian Olympic history. Josh's story is one of courage, determination, and overcoming adversity. So you could forgive Josh for getting a bit full of himself every now and then. But that's not how he rolls. Josh Katz is humble, gracious, and kind. And he's kindly offered his time to join me on Quick Wisdom. So Josh, thank you for joining me and welcome to Quick Wisdom.
Thank you for having a very kind introduction. I appreciate it.
Yeah, when we eventually got there. So let me ask you, before we get onto your dicky knee, let me ask you, when you stood on the medal dais in Birmingham, having a bronze medal draped around your neck, where did you think your judo career was going as a young bloke?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely sort of had a lot of confidence after that experience and was really grateful to have experienced winning bronze on that day. The same day my brother also won bronze and my parents got to go over and watch me compete. So it was definitely a really special day, and it gave me a lot of confidence that the next 2 years were going to go smooth and according to plan, and I would be able to have a really red hot crack at Paris a few years later. So I was very excited when I finished at the Commonwealth Games, and my eyes were set firmly on Paris 2 years later.
So you had some big dreams for yourself, but you ended up not qualifying for the Olympics the following 4 years after you went to Rio.
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
Yeah, it was tough. It was, I think I took the Rio experience for granted a lot, that I would just always get back to another Olympics, and never really had considered the fact that I would have to qualify again. And when I missed out on Tokyo, it was a really, really tough time, and I, to be honest, didn't know if I was ever going to get back to judo again. I thought that might have been the end of my career. But I think eventually, after having a little bit of a break and getting to watch Nathan compete in Tokyo, which was a really special moment for our family to watch him compete, even though we're watching on TV at home in lockdown. I think seeing him compete gave me a new boost of motivation that I wasn't done yet, and that I really had to give it one more crack.
Very cool. So when you were a young kid cutting your teeth at the Olympic Games and the Commonwealth Games, did you think being humble was important back then, or was it just getting in the way of winning?
Yeah, I think I always valued being humble a lot. It was something my parents instilled in me at a really young age, and I think in a physical combat sport like judo, it's quite easy to stay humble because as soon as you start doing really well and you compete at bigger tournaments, there's always somebody better than you that's ready to kick your bum. So, I was always pretty talented and successful at a young age, and then every time you start competing in the next age group or you go overseas, and then certainly when I got to the Olympics, I didn't think I was the best one there. So I think it's not always easy to be humble when you have success at a young age, but I think I always had dreams that were bigger than just qualifying for the Olympics. So that always helped me to stay on track for what I was really focused on, which was to hopefully win a medal.
So let's now talk about your dicky knee. So just on the timeline, you went to the Olympics in Rio, won a bronze medal at Commonwealth Games, you were flying, you're coming back from the disappointment missing out at Tokyo. When you did your knee, how did the injury happen and how did it make you feel?
Yeah, so I had a really tough sort of 2 years after the Commonwealth Games in the start of the qualifying process, but finished 2023 in a qualifying position for Paris and felt really good. And I was at a training camp in Melbourne and was training as well as I ever have and was in the best shape I'd ever been in. And I remember doing an interview. There was a media company that came and I did an interview in the morning and they said, what do you have to do to qualify for Paris? I said, I just got to stay healthy, just do nothing crazy and everything's going to work out. And I knew I jinxed it as soon as I put it out into the universe. But later that night, about 6 hours later, I was at the last hard session before we would fly to Europe, and just in a sparring round, and just something that I had done 1,000 times before, and this time my knee went this way and they went this way, and I fell down and had this massive pop in my knee straight away. So I'm not a doctor, but I knew that something was pretty bad straight away. Knees aren't supposed to pop and hurt that much in that sort of moment, but I sort of went outside and the physio came and he did that ACL test that I had seen on TV at rugby league 1,000 times, and every time I ever watch them do it, I'm like, oh man, I hope that never happens to me. And he did the test on me straight away. I was like, look mate, like I'm not an MRI, but I'm pretty certain you've just done your ACL. And that was really tough. Like all of it, automatically it was those feelings of missing out on Tokyo surfacing all over again, that I didn't really know what the possibilities were, but I thought that was it, to be honest, which is devastating.
And did it take you long to decide not to get surgery and keep competing with a dodgy knee?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing we had to figure out was what the other damage was. If they had said, if it's just your ACL, we could go without, but depending on what the other damage is, we might not have a choice. And I guess to give you a little bit of context as to my support team, I got the MRI and I was in the car driving home from Melbourne, and I got the results from my MRI, and I called my physio and he said, is it ruptured? I said, yes. He goes, any other damage? I said, no. And he goes, okay, when do we need to fight again? So I was like, all right, these are the people I need in my corner. So it probably took me all of 5 seconds to decide that I wasn't going to have surgery and then I was going to do my best without.
That's a cool story. That's a good physio.
Yeah, it's a good physio. They're the type of people you need in your corner, because to be honest, if he had said, look mate, you can't do it, I probably would have believed him. So it was that initial confidence I needed from other people to tell me that it was going to be still possible.
Now, I'm a bit like you were before you did your ACL, and then I've never done one. I don't know what it feels like. How tough was it physically and also financially? I think you had to pay your own way to qualifying. How tough was that journey for you to get into the Paris Olympic Games?
Yeah, really tough. I mean, it was a new experience for me and all of my team. No one had ever sort of helped somebody prepare for major judo competitions without an ACL before. So all of the training we were doing was just experimenting what was okay, what wasn't okay. We failed a lot of times, and mentally it was also really tough because I just couldn't do the training that I was used to doing in the lead up to competitions. And I'm normally somebody that takes a lot of confidence of knowing that I worked really hard in the lead up to the competition, and I had to go to the competitions knowing that I didn't do that much training and I just had to sort of roll the dice on the day. And I had my first competition in Brazil, which went okay, but it wasn't quite enough to qualify. And then the last 2 tournaments that I had to go to, just me and Nathan, weren't supported by the team. So we paid our own way to go to Tahiti, and then the following weekend to the Ivory Coast, which was an experience, as you can imagine. Just two white guys flying over to the Ivory Coast to compete in the judo competition. But that was really challenging, just because I was competing on one leg and hadn't really done any training, to be honest. But mentally, just trying to almost just lie to myself that I was in good shape and you're good enough, you can do this, without having any proof that I could actually do it. So it was like a false confidence for a long time, and it was a lot of emotional build up that just every time I felt like I was almost there, just had to take 2 steps back a little bit. And when we finally got to that last competition in the Ivory Coast and I made the final and I knew that would be enough, then it was just this huge, overwhelming relief. Like, that was probably the biggest emotional dump I've ever had in my whole life. It was amazing, but it was like crazy at the same time.
Sounds like it. Yeah. So you've mentioned Nathan a couple of times. Just explain who Nathan is, what his relationship is with you in terms of coaching, and the story of when you made the finals in your qualifying tournaments, what he decided to do.
Yeah, so Nathan is my brother, my older brother. We went to Rio together, competed both in Rio together. He also competed in Tokyo, and then we both won bronze at the Commonwealth Games. And in late 2023, he had a really serious neck injury that needed surgery, and decided that he would shift away from competing, called an end to his career, and would help me in the lead up for Paris, and still helping me now, but certainly in the lead up to Paris would help me qualify and compete. So it was just me and him at the last tournament in the Ivory Coast. And when I made the final, I think he was just as relieved and emotional as I was, to be honest, just because he'd been there the whole time and had seen how hard it was for him. And I know him and my parents in particular tried not to show to me how much they were worried about me. They tried to always be strong in front of me, because I wasn't always strong in front of them. So I think they just had to give me this serious and supportive face and front all the time. But then I think after I had qualified, then I really got to see how much it had been affecting them as well, just seeing me struggling for a long time. And I was so grateful to have been able to experience that with him on that day. And then really lucky that he also got a pass to come to Paris, was there supporting me throughout the week, got to warm up with him in the morning at the competition. So it was pretty awesome. Wish I just could have won a medal. It would have been a nice bow to top off the story, but it wasn't how my fairy tale was going to end, unfortunately.
And I think just getting there was a fairy tale itself. I really don't know if you appreciate and understand how incredible your story is. I've never heard you pump your own tyres and talk about how brave and courageous and strong you are. Where did your humility come from?
I appreciate that, but I think it definitely started from my parents. They all throughout me and Nathan growing up, they worked so hard at everything they were doing, and especially coaching and everything judo related. The biggest lessons that they always taught us was just that without working hard you can't achieve anything. And I think in judo it's quite easy to get a little bit ahead of yourself and to be quite big in your boots, because it's a fighting sport. So if you're really good at fighting, often you can actually do something about it to people that you don't like. But I think it was just always something that I really valued when I was growing up. Older athletes that took the time to sort of help me, that were nice to me, and I always wanted to be that same person when I was eventually the senior athlete, traveling and being able to be somebody that younger people could ask for help and to help inspire other people as well.
Josh Katz, thank you so much for joining me. I feel like you and your brother Nathan are like the Fox sisters, but without the gold medals. It's an incredible story. Thank you for joining me, and good luck at the next Olympics.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And thank you to the ARA Group for being our major sponsor for the 9th season in a row. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe to Everyday Greatness on YouTube, and join us next week, where I'll speak to one of the top 50 women in accounting in Australia, Carly Chant, the CFO at Alliance SI. She'll tell stories about how proud she is about her sister, about how her grandparents taught her humility, and about how her father taught her how to work hard in business. Join us for that one, and we hope to see you soon.
Every day, we're here for you. We get things off the ground, keeping you connected. We're here keeping you safe and secure. We keep things running smoothly and know the importance of giving back. Every day, we're here. ARA. Here for you. Here for good.